So let's talk about opportunities and opportunities for trade. Many people would like to get into some sort of, business, or people get into business so they can create employment in the region. We have a huge market in the region, and let's talk about that cross-border and cross-regional trade within the various regional blocks that have been formed. Peter Mutinda, the president of the Asia, Africa, Middle East Chamber of Commerce and Industry, is our guest for the next hour. Peter, good morning.
Good morning, Latif.
Thank you very much for joining us. You will tell us about this particular chamber. We know about the Kenya National Chamber of Commerce and Industry. We've heard about now other country chamber. Now this is a regional chamber covering Africa, Asia, Middle East. Is it a federation of chambers and so? But you'll answer that question shortly. First, Janet is going to give you the day's quote. Let's see whether the quote speaks to you.
Today's quote is by Publius Cyrus.
His name again?
Publius.
Okay.
But then again, we went to 85 BC, so we don't know how they said it.
Publius.
Publius. He once said, "A small debt makes a debtor, a large debt makes an enemy."
A small debt
makes a debtor,
a large debt
makes an enemy.
makes an enemy.
Yeah. Is there any situation that's coming to mind? Or enemy or debtor?
Well, of course, when you talk about debt, there's a discussion going on in Kenya now,
Right.
Yeah.
about a public figure and the debt with the bank. Definitely, the high stakes, the recovery machines will only be sent to the big debts, to follow, because of the ditch, that is created by that kind of a loss.
Yeah.
And so, the loss is more defined when the debt is very huge from the lender side.
Right.
And therefore, that makes a lot of sense.
Okay.
Becomes
Even when they
NMP.
see to write off debts
Yes.
in those institutions, they start with the small ones up there.
They don't write off the big debts.
The big debts, because they can close down. Yeah, so that's a very relevant,
Quote.
quote. Yeah.
Okay.
And I'm a former banker anyway, 17 years in the bank. So, yes.
You're those people.
The timing of that.
That guy. You were that guy.
That guy.
Thank you, Peter. So,
Yes.
what is this Africa, Asia, Middle East Chamber?
Thank you for having me, and thank you for that wonderful question. I think we're beginning well. Africa, Asia, Middle East Chamber of Commerce. Of course, as the word goes, it's a Chamber of Commerce. It's a membership organization. And chambers of commerce look into economic growth in the region that they represent. So we look into Africa, Asia, and Middle East. These regions have economic dynamics that can benefit each other. I give it to you that Middle East is not a continent by itself, right? But it has economic dynamics that singles it out.
True.
Everybody knows, including what is happening now with the war happening there. Yeah. So we look into these regions, but we are not for profit organization, So we look into growth. We have members across. Our tagline is global partnerships across continents. So that means we go beyond even the Africa, Asia, and Middle East. We have members from Australia, from Europe, from Latin America. We have members in the chamber, and even board directors from those regions. Yeah. So we foster trade. We start for trade, investment, and innovation. TII, trade, investment, and innovation in those regions.
Right.
And then we add a word before the TII called sustainable. We say sustainable trade, investment, and innovation. And sustainability in our definition is mutual benefit. When you get into trade agreements, trade contracts, engagements, business ventures together, then both parties need to benefit. Then that's the only way to be sustainable. Otherwise, tomorrow somebody will realize, whether it is country, intercontinental, and all that, the parties involved. That's what we look for.
I love the sustainability element, and we'll talk about that because there's some big trade imbalances, I would say, even if you think of just them as regions, Asia, Africa, the Middle East, right?
Yes.
But let's begin with what the current situation looks like as far as trade within these three continents. I mean, yes, Middle East is not one, but Asia, Africa, Middle East.
Yes.
What does that kind of loop and interconnection of trade look like between the three?
It's good. I know you've had the South-South, North-North kind of engagement. And I think the future, because we are talking about the future of cross-regional trade,
yes,
will be affected by negotiating power, right?
Yes.
Most of the time there has been the North-South kind of trade engagement. And it's time to look for the South-South as well. So that means developed, and of course, those who have not even reached developing stage, to be able to engage. Your Kenya, Uganda, for example.
Right.
Your Kenya, Bangladesh, for example. Your Kenya, I will say Iran, and not because of what is happening, but looking at the dynamic, the economic. Yes.
Our largest importer of tea, or Iran, right?
Yes. Of course, the Middle East, they consume a lot of tea and the coffee and all that. I mean, these are economies that we work together with, right? So that the kind of engagement is not lopsided. You don't get into a trade agreement that benefits one side. Yeah. So we encourage this to happen so much. Now, Africa, where we are today, we can borrow from entities, countries like Malaysia. We were together. Some of them were doing better. South Korea, some years back, the time we were getting independence, they are so much ahead. Right. So the question is, what did they do and what can we do? We can engage on learning from one another, right? When you engage with countries like Bangladesh, sometimes there is also that notion of Africa, because Africa has to be poor. People don't know also there are other countries in other regions who are very much struggling their economies. And this understanding also can help. We can be able to work together.
Yes.
Yes. And this is very important with like what is happening now.
Yeah.
Right? Because the Strait of Hormuz, right? The oil prices going up. Of course, the ripple effect. You're gonna bring.
Get there. Can I hold the thought for that? Because we'll get to what's happening right now. It's a big mess, and of course, the implications for us trade-wise are massive.
Yes.
But I still wanted to know, Kenya alone has a few big trade partners, right?
Yes.
But I don't know that we trade with blocks so much. So it's, again, we're exporting to Iran, tea to India, to the UK, flowers and other parts of Europe, and so on and so forth. And then we're importing from China, we're importing from elsewhere. But do we do block deals outside of COMESA here and things like that, so that it can be, essentially, this is an economic zone that is exporting to another economic zone?
So when you talk about economic zone and you are referring to Kenya, are you talking of like
I'm
the
talking about
EAC?
So yes, the EAC or COMESA, or even Africa as a whole. Is there any move towards thinking of not trading as Kenya, but trading as Africa, or trading as the East African community, and not going to Bangladesh, but going to Asia, or going to markets in the EU as a whole?
That's a very good question, because Africa is about 1.4 B population, right? And about population, consumers, even task force, workforce, and we pride ourselves with the young population, right?
We do.
So if we're able to come together, not fragmented, if we're able to come together, then of course we have a leverage.
Yes.
China and India, they leverage on their population, definitely, and their economic hubs by their own merit. So if we were able to come together and to do that, of course we would benefit from that.
Right.
And that is the discussion that should be happening now, right? And that is why I'll challenge you. Did you know most of the interconnection, flight from one African country to another, is more expensive than Far East or going to Europe?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And just like the way your health, your body is about mobility, movement. Do you know the economy is the same? Beyond trade agreements, we have Africa Free Continental Trade Area. You mentioned COMESA. We have EAC. We have all this. Beyond that, you need movement. And that's why, I know you said you are coming there. That's why the movement in the Middle East is affecting everybody. Because economies is about movement. Now, if within ourselves, beyond having agreements and signed papers, which sometimes, and most of the time, they actually have good elements, yes, and intentions. How about implementation? Right? Especially which can help the movement, the mobility. Why is it that the taxes, the taxes for flights, right? Why is it's so high? Why can't you agree? Europe has it's called what? Free airspace. Europe has that. We don't have.
So essentially, you're not charged a tax for flying within Europe as an airline.
Exactly. It's free, and all those tariffs and all those restrictions. I don't know. You have to get approval from where. Europe has removed that. Yes. We need one another more, right?
Yeah. But from where you sit, it's a good vantage point to see all this and understand why it's needed. This might sound like a very simplistic question, but why isn't it happening enough? It's a big question. Is it politics? What is it? Because at the beginning of this show, I did ask about intra-African trade.
Yes.
You're bringing up a lot of other important elements.
Yes.
But from where you sit, then why isn't it happening enough? And then what are the 1, 2, 3 things you're trying to do as president to say, you know what, we need each other. This is what we need. These are the barriers we need to break in order for us to be able to trade more with each other within the continent or come together stronger as a continent. So what are the barriers and what are you doing about it?
Thank you very much. We from Africa Asia Middle East Chamber of Commerce, we have an event coming up next week, 26th of March. It's called CEO Conclave and Investors Forum, and it's attracting participants from all over the world, including Africa. One of the benefits we have on what you've just asked is the direct flight from Luanda, Angola to Kenya. In fact, the ambassador will be one of the speakers in our event of Angola to Kenya, and we have many participants coming from that side. This is normally an annual event, but because of flight connection, that you had to go to Addis and to come to here. Remember, this speaks to mobility of the trade products as well. People and the cargo.
Yes.
It speaks to the same thing. And especially when you look into the opportunity with air, other than going through the sea and all that, right? So this speaks into all that. Any energy in the right direction, things will happen, right? Because the flight from Angola to Luanda to Nairobi has happened, right? That means, and of course, significantly, where you were paying maybe $1,500, you're paying about $400 for a flight. That's a significant difference, and time as well. So, it's Janet, right? So, the challenge here is, can these discussions, can these engagements get out of those boardrooms and be actions? It is possible, it is feasible. The focus has been so much into going to the West. Did you know, for example, that our highest revenue is Uganda here?
Highest,
as far as trade is
largest
concerned?
trading partner.
Exactly. Our largest trading partner is Uganda here, right? But a trader, most of the time, they will just always think of, I need to get to Europe, I need to get to the US, I need to get to where.
How much of that is oil?
Sorry?
How much of that is oil?
How much of that is oil?
Or transit.
Oil on transit.
Or other goods on transit.
Of course, it's a landlocked country, right?
Yes.
They need us.
Yes, they do.
But they can also use TZ.
Tanzania.
They can use Tanzania and other places. Of course, this has had to do with diplomatic and all that.
Yes.
But it has to do with goods and the services, even from within ourselves here.
Even locally produced.
Locally produced stuff from here.
Okay.
Yeah, it comes from there.
I want to understand, as the chamber, because chamber, then you represent your members.
Yes.
One of the things that I expect that you'll be doing is lobbying, right? So do you lobby government to government, chamber to government, or is it just business to business, business to consumer? Do you lobby governments and governments within all those countries to look at policies and all that would then make it easier to trade regionally, with a specific focus to cross-regional trade within your areas of focus?
Yes, a very good question once again, because Chamber's mandate has to do with advocacy as well. It's a great part of what we are supposed to do. So we do. I remember 2024 when the Air Asia was coming to Africa. They chose to come to Nairobi, and they lodged their first flight from our CEO Conclave event, 15th of December, at Theatre Kimviski, and then they went on the other side. Well, they didn't finish a year operating these. We tried. I personally went to their HQ in Kuala Lumpur, tried to engage with them and all that. Of course, there were many things that was happening, but we were involved. That's one of the things that I want to shout from here. And we do. In fact, we do that. But remember, from the Chamber perspective, you are looking for solutions. You come in as technocrats, all right? You are not looking to attack the government and be seen attacking the government. You actually want to work with them, such that if we were to meet in closed doors and we say, boss, can you sort this and this, and you sort, we'll be happy, our members will be happy. Indeed. Other than being seen.
That's what I'm asking.
Yes.
So, do you have sort of white papers that you produce?
Yes.
And policy proposals that you produce?
Yes.
And you take to government and say, Kenya,
yes,
as an anchor of
yes,
the East African community,
yes,
please go to the East African Legislative Assembly,
yes,
and look at the summit of presidents and all,
yes,
and let's push for this as EAC,
yes,
so we can trade better,
yes,
with our partners in the Middle East.
Yes.
Yes, are there such?
Yes, yes, we do that. We do that. And of course, we respond to needs from our members. Remember, the other time, there was one of the members from the chamber who had issues with, they take these employees to the Middle East. They do labor mobility. And they got challenges on being paid, right? Of course, there's what is happening with the labor mobility. Sometimes people are taken there and they are harassed and all that. But there are also genuine cases. But then you're not being paid. But this also has to do with the policies of the country or the relevant ministries there.
Right.
Yeah, so we come in, we write papers, we engage them from there, our counterparts on the other sides. We work with diplomats so much, and we push. And that's why, the current patron of the Chamber of Commerce is the ambassador of Kenya to Malaysia, His Excellency Ruzai Mohammed, because we work with the diplomacy so much. It's a big deal for us. We respond to a need-based thing. Okay,
I like that, and we'll talk about the diplomacy and how it actually marries into opening up, these the future of trade. Actually,
yes.
Just in a minute. For now, we're going on a short break, but when we come back, we'll discuss a little bit more on the future of cross-regional trade with the president of the Asia, Africa, and Middle East Chamber of Commerce, Peter Mutinda. We'll be right back after this. #IsFixingTheNation.
Involve us, please.
Just involve us.
Before we turn to the conversation, Rahim Tula Omar is saying, who are Kenya's major partners in Asia? And I don't know whether it echoes closely to what Mariam had asked and also what you were just asking Eric during the break, which is talking, deeply about the specific partnerships that Kenya has. Yeah.
Yeah, I think you can respond to that. In this area that you represent, Asia, Africa, Middle East, who are Kenya's main partners? Whom do we export to mostly, and from whom do we import mostly?
I like that. Yeah, so Kenya, like most African countries, is a net importer, Mariam. The balance of trade is skewed against us. So definitely we bought more. Most of our medical equipments come from Asia.
Right.
Countries like Malaysia, Korea, India, we get our product from those places. Much of our exports is purely agriculture based.
Agriculture.
And that is where one of the problems is, if you allow me, Latif. One of the challenges is we export without value addition.
Yeah.
Right? So And this goes to all the other countries. Even the oil thing, if we were to get there. African countries, they export what? Crude oil.
Yeah.
Right? And they will buy like everybody else.
Yeah.
So Kenya can do better. Of course, our coffee is all over the world. It's respected. I remember one time I was in Incheon in South Korea, and I saw a place written Kenyan coffee, actually Kiambu Kenyan coffee, and you see, you feel nice, yeah? It's respected, it's good from many, no angles. But of course, the challenge comes in value addition, right? We export to the Middle East. Most they don't have arable land, of course, so they depend. We bought food, and so we export to those countries as well, right? A bit is happening in our African countries, if it is surrounding here. Also, some coffee. These days, avocado is doing a good job for us. Many markets out there, whether it's, of course, more of the avocado than value addition than avocado oil. It's also going to Asia, most of the Asian countries. I know Malaysia. The chamber has been involved in opening that market. Avocado to Malaysia, and flowers, carnations, roses, to Malaysia as well. We've been involved in those. So most of our export has to do with agricultural products.
Okay.
Yes.
Now, when you come to making those agreements, I remember when you are signing in the agreement, the economic partnership agreement, say with the EU, is Kenya with the bloc that is the EU. When the UK pulled out of the EU, we had to sign another one now with the UK specifically. And then back home, we are busy working so hard and so slowly at consolidating ourselves as an East African community bloc or as a COMESA bloc and creating the African Free Continental Trade Area as a bloc. And there are some who say that Kenya should not be entering into individual partnership agreements with any of these countries, the USA, with the EU, with the countries in the Middle East. We should do so as a bloc. What do you think? Should Kenya say that we shall enter into an economic partnership agreement with the EU as EAC, not as Kenya individually?
Right.
A very good question. And I'll respond with a pinch of salt on that. I wouldn't say yes, I wouldn't say no. And I'm going to tell you why.
Okay.
I was in Abu Dhabi. We were in Abu Dhabi. Amek worked with Reuters, the source. You know these guys? Reuters, the source. So there was an economic forum in Abu Dhabi. And the advisor to the president was asked a question on Abu Dhabi and how they would treat the engagement with the US, all right, and with Israel and many other countries. And he said, we moved from geopolitical, stance, and now we are in economic sovereignty.
Okay.
That means when we engage, of course, policies, geopolitics, they affect trade, commerce, and everything.
Yes.
When we engage with any state, any bloc, we look into the benefits for our country rather than or whatever you're talking about. We look at what benefits us. So Kenya, it should not be looking into whether I go as a bloc or as a country. The question should be,
what's serving my interest?
What is the interest for us as a country?
Okay, so here's a counter argument that comes from those arguing against it.
Yes.
They say,
Yes.
Kenya signs a partnership agreement with the EU.
Yes.
That talks about how we can access the EU market,
Yes.
and how the EU can access the Kenyan market,
Yes.
and bringing goods into Kenya.
Yes.
But Kenya has also entered into an agreement with 7 other countries in the region under EAC. So goods that are coming from Kenya can enter into Somalia, into South Sudan, into Rwanda, into Burundi. If Rwanda was trying to sign its own economic partnership agreement with the EU, and it is raising some certain blocks into the EU goods going into Rwanda, that will be negated by the fact that Kenya has a better deal with the EU in terms of EU bringing goods into Kenya.
Right.
So EU can goods can get into Kenya easily and find their way into Rwanda.
Yes.
So whether Rwanda signs whatever kind of deal, doesn't matter. Flip it the other way around. Kenya has protected its market so well that it has signed a very good deal with the EU where we can sell, but also we control how they bring things into our country. But Rwanda goes and signs a deal. Somalia goes and signs a deal that allows things to cross into Somalia easier. They will cross the borders, they'll come into Kenya. So the downside of signing as individual 8 countries is there for us to see vis-a-vis us signing one uniform economic agreement as a bloc with that bloc called the EU.
Okay. So the question is, this to you, what control does Kenya have on this bloc? You see this trade bloc we are doing together with those other countries?
Yes.
And when we talk about Kenya, not to be seen like because I come from Kenya, because we represent Africa and many other countries. I'm talking about, we mean any other country, yeah? This particular country, in this case is Kenya, right?
Yep.
How much control does it have in actually what goes into that bloc agreement with the other bloc? Because it is easier said, than what is here. Because whatever is actually actualized at the end of the day there. And that's why I was saying there is no or yes. Somebody should really look into this side. Did you see our president go to China, right? Engage, come back. Go to the US, engage, and come back. What is your take on that in terms of this kind of discussion you're talking about?
We're dealing individually.
Is it?
Yeah.
Is it? And you're able to stand and negotiate, talk about for your country. I engage you as a sovereign entity, and I also engage you, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. But of course, the technocrats have to really work, 24/7 in terms of looking at what happens, what will benefit us, who has agreed with who. The agility here is a key thing. Yeah. So when you see, like now, I know we are coming there. When you see something has happened, the Strait of Hormuz, this cannot happen. You look, what are the effects? So where can I go? If you look, there's a Rwanda. Rwanda has gone and done some agreement with the UK, for example. What does it mean? So how can I adjust to fit in? I think the game has to be that way. Things are very dynamic.
Yeah.
Very, 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 very dynamic. And therefore somebody has to be there. And that's why the advisors of the policymakers should be real technocrats who are looking at the interests of the entities, of the countries, so that they stay there. They can also be able to assess the geopolitics side of it, because these things affect this other side. Yes.
The diplomacy part now, which is, the fact that we have good relationships here and there, some better than others, but are we leveraging enough on diplomatic relations to make sure that indeed, from a cross-regional perspective, we're trading well? I often see our diplomatic, what should I call them, moves as being catered to, especially the West, right? So, for example, you see engagements with ambassadors of the US, the UK, Europe, some parts of Asia, but you rarely see engagements with, who is the ambassador of Kenya to Malawi? I mean, Malawi to Kenya, and vice versa. Are we tapping into those? Who is Bangladesh's ambassador to Kenya? And how do we tap into those relationships for trade?
Very good question, Mariam. You see, I don't know whether it is coming from the colonial times, what was fed in our minds. The chamber is called Africa, Asia, Middle East Chamber of Commerce. One time, I was speaking in Kuala Lumpur. I introduced the chamber, and I was asked, why is it not Asia, Africa? Akinili-catch kidogo. Right? So I was like, but why not Africa, Asia? Then I went again and said, but how about if you go alphabet? Which one begins?
Africa, Asia.
Exactly. But the main thing is the perception that we have, right? I sit in places, maybe I'm the only person with a different skin, and I can see how the feeling, first I look at myself before I look out, how I feel when I realize everybody is. Because one time I was doing some exam, and we were with guys from Europe, Malaysia, okay, it was South Korea actually, but guys from USA and all that. Just because my grades were better, the problem first is, please allow me to say this, just because my grades were better, and most of the time in high school I've never been like the last, I've always, right? My smile was almost here, just because I've seen a Mzungu here and my grades are better. Then I was like, wait, what is the issue really with me? Then I realized, in our belief systems, as we grew up as Africans, all that, but there's a Mzungu thing. That's why entities talking about commerce, now the Chamber of Commerce, business are forced to have a Mzungu behind so that you can show it's legit, right? Most of the time, when a Mzungu enters the room, we Africans, tutasimama haraka than any other person. I don't know whether you get it. Yep. So these are things which have been built over time, right? And these are things which we need to confront because they are not true. And before we point a finger on them, we need to point our finger on ourselves. Before you take me from there, these things affect negotiation. If you get into a negotiation room and you already believe you're inferior, what happens?
You have no leverage.
You have no leverage. And that is actually what has been happening. Yeah. So most of the time, the ambassadors of which country to which country, of course, they will face the same things that we face, right? Yeah, they will face. But it is doable. If you prove otherwise, if you prove otherwise. I am a PhD student in one of the countries out there, and I learned the other day, I'm their best PhD student. But I'm the only person with this kind of a skin. And before, when we started, to be honest, I was also feeling like, wow, how things gonna go. So what I'm trying to say is, it is us to confront those things we have believed. The films we have seen, the things we have learned from media, they affect negotiation.
It's so wild that we often don't think of those internalized norms as a hindrance to progress. And they really are across the board. We can now get into sort of like what we're seeing play out globally, the geopolitics and how it's affecting trade. Talk to us about that, the implications of what's happening, say, in the Middle East, and how it's affecting, or will affect, or is set to affect trade in the continent and across.
Okay, thank you, Janet. Of course, it starts with what comes from the Middle East, and much of it has to do with the oil, right? The oil dollar, right? So, of course, cost for fuel has gone up, right? That talks about energy. Not about fuel now, it's about energy. So, your air ticket, your normal transport, the manufacturing energy, because it means even the alternative sources of energy demand will go high, and what happens? Then prices go high. When prices go high, then you can talk about inflation. Right? You talk about inflation and all that. And so already as we speak, of course, this thing has already happened. We have had cancellation. Like for us, I said again, we have an event, CEO Conclave, coming up in 1 week's time. We had many participants from the Middle East. Most of them have a challenge traveling because the airlines have cancelled the trips and all that. Others are looking at the cost related to that because when you have to reroute, it's a longer route and maybe the costs are higher, right? So it's affecting, and most of the time markets are affected by even perceptions. Even before something goes bad, if there's a perception things are going to go bad, it affects. So there's already a perception, prices are going to go high, and that triggers actually them going high. So it's something that because the world relies on that. And where we stand as Kenya, as Africa, other African nations, then this is a time, because you see, crises are supposed to help economic growth. They're supposed to challenge entity countries and regions to look for a way forward. When COVID came, there are industries, there are sectors that leveraged on the challenge, and they have not remained the same. Things changed. So that is where we are, because in Africa, It's where oil producing Nigeria, Angola,
Yes.
right?
Uganda.
Uganda.
Yeah.
Did you say that? Wow. Okay. Yeah. But of course, in a larger scale, those two, right? The ones who have begun. These guys are trying to leap, and we pray they do, right? But now, if they do that, and they have to export the whole crude oil, right? And something happens like what has happened now. You know, we are still caught up there because they're waiting for the refined one.
Yeah.
So what if the refining was happening here, right? In their negotiation, what if these countries in their negotiation, if, okay, you can say capital, what else can you say? Skills and all that.
Yeah.
What if you negotiated and say, come and do the refining in our country, right?
Yeah.
We'll open the market for you, okay? Transfer skills,
Yes.
pay taxes, okay? Make revenue, take back the profits. What if in our negotiation, that's what we're talking about negotiation, yeah?
Or
If
take
we-
back some of the profits.
Yes, take some. Okay, that's good. Or take some, right?
Yeah.
Then what is happening now? You'd find like Africa itself, especially now we talk of Africa Free Continental Trade Area, and it's a good thing because they've removed trade barriers and all those things.
Yes.
You'd be saying, okay, we don't all rely so much on what is coming. You can also have trucks. If Uganda has it, you can have trucks from there, bring it here, right? You can even do a pipeline. You can do one from Nigeria even to here, if that is where it is, and it will be cheaper than getting from where, right?
From the Strait of Hormuz. wherever it's going.
Exactly.
I hear you.
Yes.
But I'm trying to think about, and this is now the future,
Yes.
how do we actually foolproof and protect ourselves against these shocks? Because they won't just be in the Middle East or in the West or in the US or South America. They might be closer to home.
Yep.
So even as we think about, Uganda, and then maybe there's a refinery in Uganda, and then we pipeline and we're good. Who knows?
Yeah.
I don't know. As we get more interconnected, the danger also just increases, right? The fact that you have to depend on someone else, and essentially you're at their mercy. So it's good to be a global village, but it comes with some drawbacks. How do we protect ourselves against that?
Exactly. So it's a global village. It's a very, very, very good thing.
Yeah.
We are an intercontinental chamber, and we really advocate for that. But you know what? If you strengthen your base, you know, if it is a country like this and you're able to, you have the right infrastructure from which county to which county to which county, then now you can talk about, I can get that coffee and tea from Kericho and bring it here and I can export. If you have your own infrastructure systems done well. If in Africa you have your own infrastructure, which of course means policies as well, done well, that means you can also be able to speak in the global space at your advantage, right? So going global does not mean you neglect regional, you know? It does not mean so.
Yeah.
It actually means you strengthen your regional so that when you go global, right, you can also negotiate at the table.
Practically,
Yes.
how do you do that? So let's say today,
Yes.
Peter Mutinda is made the cabinet secretary for trade investment.
Yes.
What would you do? So we are where we are right now. The Strait of Hormuz has issues. We have had issues in Ukraine for a long time, and there's likely to be another conflict coming up soon.
Yes.
What would you do? What would your focus be so that you shield us from such shocks?
Wow, a very good question. One is again, Latif. You know, some problems are short term, can be solved in the short run. Others are long term because they have built. Of course, now, if I am the CS of trade, then I have to look for a solution now, right?
Yeah.
Because you cannot go and tell Dagote to refine everything now, now and bring it here and build the pipe now and next week we have. So you have to look for a solution now, right? Of course, now that means you start looking at your reserves. You start looking at, is it possible to cushion the buyers and all that within the budget that you have? You have to look for a solution now, a short-term solution, and you have to call it so, right? You have to call it so. You have to start. Also, you have to start responding, looking at how are things going on there, and what are the alternative routes as well, right? Right now, I hear, is it China? They have negotiations, so their ships can go through, right? But that does not affect the prices, right? Even if they go through, the prices are high. So this is something that you have to deal with now. But on long term, because one person or one country or one cabinet minister can change things by voicing. most of the time these things have looked so big like they're undoable. They're very doable. So this advocacy, when people meet at their COMESA, we were discussing that during the break, when they meet where? In these blocks, these are the things that they need to bring on the table.
Right.
For example.
So what would Waziri Mutinda take to the table? I just want to hear. Like a roadmap, because you've been on this, eh? You're president of the regional chamber, and you said that you actually usually do come up with policy proposals.
Yes.
Now, implement. You're the Waziri. So, cushion us, not for the now, but to make sure that we actually get this cross-regional trade moving better than it is.
Well, talking about the future now, again, very good. So, I would look into the intra-Africa. And intra-Africa, when I mean intra-Africa, I will look at what am I handling. So in this case, we are talking about fuel, right? We are talking about oil. So you look at the countries that are involved in this. What will I do? I would engage, of course, you have to work with you have to influence your president, you have to influence the regional blocs and all that. But these cabinet secretaries and all that, they represent the countries their countries and their regions in those regions. So these are the things we bring on the table. Right? So we would be discussing, say, like, you see what happened in this case? So we'd ask, can we, because if Africa came together, for example, I would ask you, probably Nigeria or Angola, or even Uganda, you said, one of the challenges they have is capital, is it? Are you sure if these African countries came together, they cannot put in, African countries I'm talking about, and invest in that? We cannot invest. Is it?
Yeah.
We I hear a lot of money being found. I don't know, pension funds can now be put where? Have you had, those kind of engagements? There's a lot of money. If we came together, that's one of the things that I would really push on the table. We invest into one another within ourselves. There are a lot of, and we allow this investment. We allow governments, and we bring in the private sector to do that. A lot of money from African countries, Kenya not excluded, is out there.
Yeah.
Have we known we can also invest here and we help one another? Somebody needs to shout about this. Somebody needs to make it happen, to create an environment that it can happen.
You sit at an ideal vantage point.
Yes.
Curveball question very quickly.
Yes.
Digital trade. I don't know that that's something that is explored enough.
Yes.
Because just do you talk about that could be the next thing? I don't know if it can ever outlive shipping and those kind of traditional routes, but digital trade is also something that's growing. Just give us a quick 1, 2, 3 on what your thoughts are about the opportunities around digital trade.
Yeah, of course. You bring in even e-commerce when you mention digital trade, right? Of course, the world has gone there, and Africa, the resources that we have is the youth who are very tech savvy. That's why you'll find Microsoft coming here. And not Toyota to manufacture here. You've seen that, Yes, they know we have a youthful population, and those are opportunities that we have. Kenya itself is a tech finance hub. It's already regarded that way. So that is those are low-hanging fruit. And when you go that direction, most of the time you don't need a lot of capital to go that direction. So that is something that is really happening, and it is already happening. It's only that for your oil, of course, even if you trade digitally and do that e-commerce, you still need the substance to come to you, right? It's about affecting those parts. But that is a direction that my research is on digital credit. Yes, and in Nairobi, and it's actually because of the uptake in this country. You know what M-Pesa revolution has done. So digital e-commerce is a big deal.
Big opportunities.
It's a big opportunities that this economy should leverage on, and we also need to be able to negotiate about it.
Okay. Mariam, you have feedback?
Yes.
Yeah, it was just one question, actually.
Yes.
From a fixer, wanted to know if you can explain why, for example, Uganda would choose to use a longer oil pipeline through Tanzania and not the shorter one through Kenya.
Okay. Of course, we are all smiling when you hear that.
Very briefly,
That shows you that geopolitics influence policy, and they influence decisions. So, of course, by the time Uganda goes that direction, there must be a diplomacy engagement that was going on, right? And because most of the time you're supposed to do cost-benefit analysis. for any project that you do, is it? So there must be a reason that they went on that direction, and it could be sometimes somebody can choose to trade with your neighbor and not with you, and you thought you are better, right? So somebody needs to check deeper to know whether it is actually a Kenyan issue or it is Uganda, because most of the time in the region, Kenyans are referred to be a little bit aggressive in business and all that. So you don't know whether there is a perception, and what was going on.
Could be many things at play. Okay.
Yes.
We're completely out of time. Sorry. We have to wrap up there. But thank you so much for making time for us.
Yes.
That is Peter Mutinda. He's the president of the Asia, Africa and Middle East Chamber of Commerce.
Yes.
In the next hour, miss me with that. Stay with us. #IsFixingTheNation and TV.
Thank you.